I'm supposed to make a guide for Augusta, but I don't have a lot of time, so that means we're gonna ball. Augusta is reddish-orange and represents the sun. Her passion burns like California wildfires, so naturally, her element is Electro. She's the main damage dealer in a team, which directly aligns with her lore about being ridiculously strong. She's got some of the flashiest attacks in the game, and her DPS values are solid. But what have I told you? Things are not as they seem. Augusta is a character with many different attacks, but a relatively low skill ceiling that allows you to learn and play her easily. For example, she has a normal set of basic attacks like most other characters, and her heavy attack uses her forte bar. But she also has another forte gauge within the forte bar. Her greed is sickening. Her normal forte gauge is called prowess, and her more important one is called ascendancy. Your goal is to max out her ascendancy so that you can trigger her enhanced skill sequence, which will grant you a stack of majesty, which then unlocks her enhanced resonance liberation at 2 stacks. When I was writing that, it made a lot of sense, but now that I've read it out loud, it's kind of way too dank. The second stack can be gained from another character when using their outro skill, or with one of her passives, she'll gain one for free when out of combat for over 4 seconds. Basically, with this unlocked, you just need to max her special forte gauge one single time and activate her enhanced skill to unlock that enhanced liberation. The TLDR is that little forte gauge in the middle, that's all you really care about. Her regular skill is useful for gaining ascendancy. As you can see, the summarized version is deal electro damage, and if you want the long version, it doesn't change that much. Her ascendancy gains 10% from using her skill, 20% from using her intro skill, 40% from her regular resonance liberation, and an undisclosed amount from her normal attacks. And once full, you unlock the Sand Devastator. Because the clock stops, to balance it all, they made her big hits not do that much damage at S0, because if they did similar damage to previous characters with a time stop, she'd be incredibly overpowered. So instead, she falls in line with other units for the most part, save for when she's paired with Yuno, for reasons I will not get into. Augusta also has 2 passives, one of which gives her a shield every time she attacks up to every half second, which is useful for triggering her Echo Set effect, and another passive that gives her that Majesty stack that I mentioned. But it also will fully restore Crown of Wills, which I didn't really talk about yet, so I guess I should probably do that. Actually though, it's not that important. Crown of Wills gives Augusta 15% electro damage bonus whenever an ally uses an outro skill while under Augusta's outro skill effect. But with that passive, she will just have it forever basically, until it eventually gets removed at the end of her enhanced liberation. Essentially, Majesty stacks and Crown of Will stacks are 2 things that you don't really have to think about at all when you play her. They're just a means to buff her that you automatically get when she's fully invested. Augusta's outro skill is pretty insane because it gives a 15% damage amp for all attributes, meaning that she can benefit literally any other character's damage in the game. It only lasts for 14 seconds on one character though. The last thing to know about Augusta is that most of her damage counts as heavy attack damage, meaning that those bonuses are generally good and some bonuses will be completely useless on her. There are about 15,000 different buffs that Augusta gives herself, but after watching this rotation section, her kit will make a lot more sense to you. With all of that in mind, it's probably easier if I just show you everything. So her 4-hit attack will max out her purple bar, and a heavy attack will give her half of one. This is important for her overall rotation. That, and if you play in English voiceover, you get a massive 10,000% damage amp. For the rotation example, I'm gonna use the team of Shorekeeper, Mortefi, and Augusta. First off, you're gonna want to start off with Shorekeeper and Mortefi for their field time. When it's Augusta's turn on the field, you'll want to activate her intro skill, which also procs your main Echo's damage. Then use her enhanced heavy attack combo. Follow up with her regular skill, then use her resonance liberation, and follow up with another enhanced heavy attack combo once again. After that, enhanced skill, skill again, and skill a 3rd time, then use her enhanced resonance liberation by holding R and go sicko mode. After using her second ultimate, you can also use your Echo active skill before you outro for some extra damage. Sometimes, when you're finished, you're not actually done. If you're playing a super fast team and Augusta's 20-second cooldown hasn't recovered yet, you can always extend Augusta's field time with a heavy attack to 3-4 at the end of her rotation right before her outro, but you won't need that for every single team. So once again, you're going to use her intro skill, which is going to also trigger her Echo damage by the way, then enhanced heavy attack combo, skill, ult 1, enhanced heavy attack combo, enhanced skill combo, ult 2, Echo, and if you need to extend the rotation, you can heavy attack 2-3-4, but you probably won't need that, so just go to her outro skill. As for teammates, Augusta actually has a lot of options as a main damage dealer. Most of her damage is heavy attack damage, meaning that characters like Mortifi, Frolova, and Yuno will be very strong with her for their outro skill heavy attack amplify. Yuno in particular is expected to be very strong with Augusta, and even though I can't show you gameplay yet, you'll just have to trust me. Of course, Shorekeeper and Farina are very strong with her as well, as they're generally good buffers, but Frolova feels fantastic for Augusta. Yunlin also works great for Augusta with her electro damage amp, but playing them together in a team with Shorekeeper gets slightly worse results than with Mortifi. And as another tip, with either one of those teams with Yunlin or Mortifi, I'd opt for a longer rotation with Augusta for more damage. The other cool thing with Augusta is because of her outro skill damage amp, you can run a lot of dual DPS teams with her, like using Carlotta as your third character in Shorekeeper Augusta Carlotta. Overall, Augusta is a strong damage dealer, but she's also very flexible with most of the cast in the game, especially when you consider her all attribute damage amp. In fact, Augusta is almost as flexible as Yuno in the bedroom. As we see more and more Septimon characters, we continue to get 3-piece echo sets, which I'm honestly kinda down for. But with that in mind, that also means there's more build flexibility, so let me go over her best build. The new Crown of Valor 3-piece is one specifically made for Augusta, which gives a 6% attack and 4% crit damage buff for 4 seconds every time you gain a shield. Because Augusta is basically constantly getting shield, she has no problems keeping this up. It stacks up to 5 times, so it's basically free 30% attack and 20% crit damage for Augusta. But on top of that, you'll want to give her a 2-piece set that benefits her damage, and the best one for that is going to be 2-piece Void Thunder, which will get her a 10% electro damage bonus. With those two combined, you have enough power to save my marriage. The main active echo you want is the False Sovereign, who dishes out a bunch of electro damage on use and on intro skill, but also gives 12% electro damage and a heavy attack bonus, which is a total of 24% damage bonus for Augusta. I wouldn't really recommend anything else at the moment. For main stats though, she's pretty straightforward, with a crit rate or damage 4 cost, 2 electro damage 3 costs, and 2 attack 1 costs. For substats though, I highly recommend prioritizing energy regen alongside your other stats, since you want her rotation to be smoother than Yuno's legs. She needs her energy regen to be up to 134% if you want her to work in basically every team, including suboptimal ones. Or you can get her to 118% for most of her optimal teams, so the actually good ones that most of you guys are going to be going for. For other stats, focus on things like crit rate and damage, attack percent, and heavy attack damage bonus. But what about her weapon? Well, you guys are no stranger to the drip meta of Wuwa, so obviously Augusta's signature weapon wins. But I'm personally a fan of Lustrous Razor because of that bright yellow and blue combo, which looks a lot like Yuno. In terms of actual value though, her signature is...
That's quite big.
It gives 12% attack for nothing and heavy attack damage whenever using her intro or skill. It also gives heavy attacks a defense ignore, which adds quite a bit of damage to her. With that said, Verdant Summit is strong on her as well for the heavy attack bonus and crit main stat. If you have a retired Jian, this weapon should work great. Ages of Harvest and Wildfire Mark are okay follow-ups, but if you don't have either of those to spare, Lustrous Razor is the best R1 free-to-play accessible weapon. The new Ariat Zenith at R5 is the next best thing, with Autumn Trace being right behind it. If you don't have either of those, try Waning Redshift or Helios Cleaver. Here's a weapon chart showing comparisons in damage of her signature and other weapons. Take it with a grain of salt though, because weapon rankings could slightly vary based on the team and rotation that you run. And lastly, here's an overall summary of her build that surely none of you skipped to from the start of the video. Personally, even though all of my polls are going to Yuno, I recognize that some of you guys just want your head crushed like a watermelon under a hydraulic press. So just for you, I wrote up a bit about Augusta's sequence notes. Augusta's first sequence gives her an extra Crown of Will stack on her intro and increases the max stacks to 2. So now she can hold the 30% electro damage bonus from her kit instead of just the 15. It also gives her 15% crit damage per stack and gives her immunity to interruption during a lot of her abilities that could normally get interrupted. It ends up being a decent damage increase, but it's mostly just nice that you won't get smacked out of your animation. S2 gives Augusta a bonus 20% crit rate for every crown of will stacks she has. So now she'll be getting a total of 40% crit rate and 30% crit damage whenever she has 2 stacks. But on top of that, for every 1 crit rate Augusta has over 100%, she'll also gain 2 crit damage. While playing with a character like Shorekeeper, this effect can get even stronger due to her crit rate buffs. S3 is a multiplier increase on her enhanced heavy attack, enhanced liberation slashes, and other hard-hitting abilities like her enhanced skill plunge, which already has an absurd multiplier. It'd take me like 10 minutes to explain what each hit is, but all you need to know is it's a lot more damage. S4 is a team-wide attack buff for 30 seconds when you use her intro, which is gonna help extra in teams like Furlova Cantarella, and after that, S5 is gonna be just a shield buff. Nothing else. I actually have no idea why this is here. S6 is gonna be another Crown of Wills buff where you get an extra 5% electro damage per stack, and now the buff maxes at 4 stacks instead of just 2. She'll also get stacks from her heavy attacks now, so basically she just has a ton more stats. With S6, Augusta ends up doubling her damage from S0, though her playstyle is still essentially the same thing. Here's a visual comparison for you guys, but honestly those numbers are just way too dank anyways. If you're gonna go for sequence nodes, I would personally stop at S1 or S2, but technically the first sequence node to not give power is S5, so anything that you get past S0 is gonna help your Augusta deal more damage, though I don't really think she needs it. As for her weapon or sequence nodes, I definitely recommend her weapon if you don't have another premium weapon to give her, just because broad blades are a little bit limited in terms of what options you actually have. For those of you pulling for her, I wish you luck, but I gotta head out, so let me know when you know, Seer.